Post some actual stories please. I don't care if it's a poltergeist or a Wendigo, just be truthful. Hoping for some woods related stories. Will bump with some of mine. I live in Europe, but part of my family lives in Brisbane, Australia. My uncle who lives there visits us twice a year and shares some stupid stories about fishing, hunting and so on. Would be interesting if he wasn't an egoist geezer. Never mind. Recently, during his stay in our home, he told us a super freaky story that happened like 2 months ago. Green text? Hell yeah. Him going back with a friend and his oldest son, 20 years old, in Jeep Commander from casual hunting. His friend in a front seat with Maryland rifle on his lap, rest of guns in the trunk. They are driving back to Brisbane from some site near town, that name I cannot recall now. It was sounding Aboriginal though, like Tuahugwa or something. Following some road through Diagular National Park which leads in between some woods if I am correct. Never been to Ausland. His son passed out in the back seat because Huntan tired uncle behind steering wheel, around 11 p.m. Dark outside, radio is on, uncle and friend having some chit chat, mostly bored. Uncle is what you'd probably call in Murica a FUD, his son as well, although his friend as uncle stated is a hardcore outdoors guy. Served in military, used to be a guide in the region, kind of a guy you'd like to go huntan/hiking with. So they drive, following the road. They're pretty puzzled why there are almost no cars going in an opposite direction or behind them. At some point they see a vehicle on the side of the road with driver's doors opened, on hazard lights. They stop 30 meters behind. On closer inspection, no sign of human life around. Only uncle's friend left the car to take a look around. He lit off a smoke and started calling out if someone's around. Vehicle is not damaged in any way, so whole situation is weird enough to be a little bit spooky, but not too much. Suddenly uncle sees his friend who is busy with yelling out and checking out abandoned car dropping his cig. Uncle's friend who standed so far in front lights of uncle's Jeep with a rapid move grabs his flashlight and points it at one side of the woods. Uncle can't see what's going on as other vehicle blocks his sight and he's still in a driver's seat. Uncle's friend runs up to the car, grabs his rifle, and as uncle's trying to ask him what the hell is going on, he just answers briefly, "Someone's there, stay put." Uncle's friend runs up to the other vehicle aiming his rifle at the side of woods. He's yelling if it's other vehicle's driver messing with him, and if so he better come out ASAP. Otherwise he's gonna get his ass hurt badly. For like a minute or two there's nothing but dead silence. Uncle is now spooked a bit, still curious WTF is happening out there. He lowers driver's window to hear coherently. Suddenly they hear a voice, at first moaning in the bushes, then a sound of someone clearing his throat. Uncle's friend is super alert now. Voice not more than 40 meters into the woods yells in begging like manner, "Help me man, please, 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 I cannot take it anymore, any more," and goes silent. Uncle's friend yells out that they will help him if he comes out. Is he hurt or anything like that? Did he have an accident? Is he drunk? And if it's all fun and games he's gonna tear apart the prankster. No response. At this point uncle's son is awake and wants to get his gun out to be a manly man, but uncle orders him to don't move an inch. Rustling in the woods can be heard now, like someone's crawling through very slowly. Uncle's friend is silent and alert. He moves a meter or two back to the Jeep. Suddenly he yells, "Don't move now. I need to see you clearly." There is some noise at the side of the woods, like someone's being at the edge of tree line, but hesitating to come outside. As Uncle Friends is reaching for his flashlight, there is blood-curdling scream being heard right from behind of Uncle's Jeep and a rough slam against it which makes whole vehicle to rock back and forth. Uncle and his son go full panic mode on. They start shouting at each other. "Close the windows, Daddy. Oh Lord, what's going on?" Uncle's friend turns on his heel and fires off 2 shots into Jeep's direction, aiming at something behind it. High-pitched shriek is heard again and Uncle's son collapses in fear at the back seat. Uncle's friend books it back into the car and Uncle speeds away from the spot. Someone is still calling them from the tree line, but as they're too busy to noping their way out they don't seem to care much. They report it at the police station in Paddington, Brisbane. Police apparently found abandoned vehicle. Missing guy is a courier from Gold Coast. no more info was released about investigation. According to Uncle's friend and Uncle's son, there was a human-resembling creature at the side of Uncle's Jeep, but bigger, like 7 feet tall and moving like it was bowed over, seemingly got shot after slamming the vehicle and ran away. Uncle's friend saw a man, presumably other car's driver, on the edge of the wood. He was hesitating to come out and acting very odd. That's why they left him in this close call situation. Uncle only one who didn't see anything, but definitely heard it all. He'll be a witness in an ongoing investigation. Shortly after he'll be back home.
Be 7 years old. Road trip to Arkansas with Grandpa, Dad and Uncle. We are traveling in some RV/van type car. It's 11:30 p.m. My grandpa is driving. We hit something big. I mean huge. Hear my dad say under his breath, "Damn it, not again." My grandpa reaches into the glove compartment and pulls out a pistol. My uncle and grandpa leave the RV in a hurry. My dad watched over me. Hear a bunch of yelling from my uncle like he was mad at someone, not like in pain. Fear voices trail off. Hear 2 gunshots. Pa and Uncle return a couple minutes later. We decide to settle down for the night. Just as we are going to be, I hear my grandpa announce, "Stay away from the windows, boys, that bastard likes to reach inside." Nope.exe.
Be chilling with dude from class. Getting blitzed, I'm stoned and zoning out. TV is on, the room is dim lit, and he's telling me his situation in life. I get this weird paranormal feeling, like a sixth sense. Then, I feel like I'm reading his mind or that he's reading mine. WTF is going on? What he says relates to what I'm thinking, close if not exact. Don't want him involved in whatever is going on. That feeling of losing control. Ask him to leave, straight up. I walk him to the door, act a fool, etc. I close the door, turn around and trip, hard. Something clicked in my train of thought, I lose myself. I lose track of time, literally, stuck in some sort of paradox. Feel like I'm falling down a rabbit hole, can't move physically, but I think to myself. I'm stuck in hell, I'm stuck here forever, I say to myself consciously. Think of my family and this complete lose of control begins to loosen. Get pulled out of this trance, like getting slapped back to reality. I'm back in my apartment, trying to grasp reality, alone. All my standards of reality left that night. I felt as if I then got frozen in hell, that I would never leave that spot or see anyone else again. To this day I don't know what sparked such an experience. I consider it my own awakening, my enlightenment, or the opening of my eyes. I don't know what more to say or extend upon. The whole event I am still trying to make sense of. Forever means something to me personally now.
B9 walking alone in woods across the street from my house. Noon on a late summer day, leaves were starting to fall. Wander for about an hour or so when I come across this old-looking stone wall. I had been through the area before and never come across this. Walk along wall to see where it leads. Eventually find that it leads to a house. There were not signs that anyone had used the driveway in ages. But the house looked surprisingly and well kept, besides the yellow paint was peeling from the outside. Completely dark inside except for one window which I can see from the side, on the back corner of the house. Go around to the back where I can see in one of the windows. Immediately piss my pants. Through the window I could see what looked like a massive white rabbit taking up half of the room. It appeared to be knitting something with its paws, but I was already sprinting home before I could check what it was. Never found that house again either.
Walking through the woods about 3 to 4 weeks ago. Have a few friends with me. Out there for fun, no specific reason. Talking about some random stuff. Hear noises behind us. We look around, see nothing. Shrug it off as a squirrel or something. Keep walking and talking. Noise getting louder. Look around and see something hide behind the tree. Me and friends get creeped out thinking it's a bear or something. We decide to leave the woods because we're not feeling like salmon and don't want to be bear food. We start walking fast towards the exit of the path we're on. Noise getting even closer to us. We make it to the end of the path. I turn around with my camera and take a quick picture. I'll never go into those woods again.
From Adelaide, Australia. Get my 2 buddies and go searching for paranormal stuff in the scrub. Only about 20 minutes away from the suburbs. Check out a track that has history of being spooky. Go there at sundown. Not much is happening, so we go deeper into a valley. Halfway down it starts to smell like copper. Really heavy stench. Mate stops for a second and says, "Guys, come back, there's something here," shining his torch into the scrub. Hear something moving to our left. It stops moving as we shine our lights there. All of a sudden movement on the other side of the track. After about 30 seconds of silence there is a messed up scream from the bottom of the valley. Sounded like something trying to impersonate a woman who is in trouble. Sort of like an animal trying to speak, almost like a dog. There's a third one in front of us in the scrub. Shine the light on that area. Reflective eyes, like a cat's, at our eye height. Nope. Avi. We are sprinting as fast as we can. These things are keeping up. After what feels like an eternity we see the car. It's a long stretch of straight track to get there. As we get to the car I take a look back. Something man-sized and pale gray slinks back into the scrub. All of a sudden hear something say, "Guys, come back." It sounded exactly like my mate. He was already in the car. My face when. Now I've lived in the bush for more than half my life, and that scream is like nothing I have heard before. Definitely wasn't a fox or koala.
I have a lot of stories. But once in the woods in PA, Tioga County, I was camping in the middle of goddamn nowhere and a buddy and he were around a campfire and kept getting weird vibes, so we're like screw this and decided to go back to our van to sleep, and on the way back we both just kinda panicked for no reason and ran and got in the van scared as hell, but nothing was there. So we stayed up for a bit and we kept seeing weird stuff outside. Looked kinda like some fires in the distance, but there was no noise or anybody else in the area. And basically I got the urge to go out and explore it, and my friend was freaking the hell out and told me not to and eventually had to like grab me and say no. The next day it looked like something was out there and there was some obvious signs of something being like right outside the van. And no sign of any fires in the distance. Scared of camping ever since.
I just posted this in a different thread, but this one seems more appropriate. This happened when I was 16. It will be 10 years this December 24th/25th. Outside of my small town are the ruins of an ancient raw. It is known locally as the Fairies Ring. It is a mile or so outside of town, in the countryside. I spent much of my teenage years there with my friend Friel. So we go up as we often did. It was a clear and fairly bright night. I can't remember if the moon was full, but it was big enough for us to see by. We sat up there for hours, talking about D&D, girls and random stuff. Eventually we are too cold to stick it anymore, so decided to walk back into town. We are only a couple of minutes down the road when we hear a sound. I thought it was behind us, but it was in front of us. It was the sound of hooves on the road. Into view comes this shape about waist height. Despite being able to see clearly, we couldn't make out what it looked like, other than its height and that it had 4 legs. It runs up onto a verge of grass and suddenly we are all lit up. A car had come around the corner further down the road. At this point we noticed that where the thing was standing before, there is now a man wearing a white raincoat, which was very visible in the dark countryside, black trousers and black shoes. He is also carrying a white cake box. We step off the road and let the car pass, on its way to one of the 3 houses out there. The man walks towards us and Friel says, "You scared us, mate." He didn't answer, he just walked past us, and as he did I saw his eyes. They were pure white and I had a feeling of intense hatred from them. We then legged it all the way back to town.
I posted in a different thread, but this one is relevant too, so. It's hazy at best, but I'll try and remember what I can. B11. Best friend also 11. Riding horse on trails, good quiet, level-headed animal. It's around noon 3 p.m. late summer/fall. Sun is beginning to set. She's on horse, I'm walking, taking turns. Horse wasn't very big, so we didn't want to tire him out. On straight stretch of gravel road, can see probably 4 to 5 kilometers in the distance. Road goes up a little hill. Suddenly horse stops, ears forward, snorting. Warning sign to all you non-horse people. Ask her what's wrong, she is staring ahead. Look and don't see anything. Horse is now up in the air, trying to turn around and bolt. She is fighting him to stay still, mind you, this was a very easy-going horse, who didn't do this sort of stuff. Look ahead again. See huge black thing on the hill. Must have been at least 3 meters tall, and wide, with no apparent shape, walking across the road, stare in terror. Suddenly black thing turns. I can't describe the shriek of horror my horse makes. I jump on horse and we gallop home as fast as we could. Can hear sounds in the woods as we gallop through. Still terrified of that one stretch of road.
Something creepy happened a few days ago to me, actually. Went out with my GF to take my dog pee and poop. All lights are out on the street, weird, don't even notice it at first. We see a humanoid figure looking at us, my dog starts barking, she's extremely hostile to everyone, so we're used to that and just pull her back. The figure just stares for a few seconds, then walks away fast. I look to my GF, says well that's kinda creepy. Then we go across the street, where it's very dark since the lights aren't working. Now we notice that there aren't any lights nowhere, actually, only a few from the houses, so we see nothing. We walk a bit in the darkness, dog still doesn't poop. Then we see a quite large male figure across the street where there's a bit of light from the street. It stumbles. Weirdly. Like he's drunk or something. Then he sees us and starts walking diagonally right towards us straight, no cars anywhere, so it's safe for him I guess. We look at each other, she grabs the dog, and we start walking back with a fast pace, he's still following us with a weird stumbly fast pace as well. We go across the street, very close to apartment now, I look back and he's gone. Later find out it was Earth Hour, where people turn out light for an hour. I guess my city contributed and turned off all the street lights. Maybe he went left somewhere. It sure was creepy and my heart was beating really fast, we were both scared AF. Maybe he was just drunk and wanted to go home or ask us questions, I don't know. But everything combined, no lights, the figure staring at us, him coming fast at us, made us freak out.
Me and another kid are staying at friend's house in VT. Very rural area, mostly just old farms and woods. House is near a deep pine forest called Devil's Wood by locals. Friends and I build pagan-like huge bonfire in the woods, joke about demons and stuff. No one admits it, but we all actually felt terrified for some reason. Walk back to the house in the dark without a flashlight. Crossing an old pasture, we hear running in the woods. Friend says something like that's my dad, he likes to shoot fireworks at us when I come back late. We hide, press ourselves to the ground, excitedly awaiting fireworks to be shot at us. Nothing happens, we hear more running in the woods on edge of clearing. We start to get bored of waiting. Suddenly a very tall, Hunched over white shape runs out of the woods and crosses the clearing to the other side 200 feet in front of us. Kinda freaked out. We assume it's my friend's semi-autistic brother in light clothes trying to scare us. We yell out to tell him we know who it is. Running noises stop. We decide to call friend's house, and his dad picks up, and we ask to speak to the brother because we expect they're trying to scare us. Brother comes onto the phone. We hang up and sprint to the house. Tell friend's dad what happened and he immediately locks all doors and windows and tells us to go to bed and to wake him up if we hear anything on the roof. I have never gone into the woods at night without a flashlight and knife since.
Interesting. I read a story on /x/ that has elements similar to this. Two kids going out camping in Australia in a remote location. They stayed together most of the time until one went to get firewood while the other was cooking. He was away for too long, so friend goes in looking for him. Going through the woods, he gets the feeling of being watched and begins to hear odd sounds and thinks friend is messing with him. I can't remember exactly the details. He hears a blood-curdling scream and a large human-like figure and takes off running back to camp. Friend who went to get wood is there when he gets back, acting like nothing happened but apparently wearing a change of clothes and had several bruises on him. Friend acting weird the rest of the time, and keeps suggesting they go explore the woods. When it is time to leave, friend tries to talk him into them staying another night. They don't. Apparently friend has acted odd since, and the guy believes something possessed friend or is wearing his skin.
Two Sundays ago, 6 months anniversary for boyfriend and I, with the boyfriend, our friend, D, and some guy I just met that day, J, all very bored, are suggests to go on a tour of some local cemetery. All agree, but I was hesitant because I'm not a fan of cemeteries. Drive up to cemetery gates, no one there yet since we were 30 minutes early. RC sign that says the tour is $10 per person. All broke and sad, I was a bit relieved, because there's nothing else to do. Jay suggests just going into the cemetery anyways since it'd be free. All agree, I was a bit uneasy. Park car deep in cemetery on some gravel road. D and J run ahead to explore. R and myself stay behind walking hand in hand spouting off cutesy stuff. Jay calls for us to come over. Walk over, no sign of D. Jay says that D and himself discovered a small path in some dense bush. Before I could get a word in, R and J walk into the bush. Walk behind them, the path leads downwards. When it ended, there was a very beautiful grassy field with a small creek. R and J already ahead and still not sign of D, run over to the two. Jay says D went into another path and that we should follow. Really worried about D at this point. We all walked through the second path, and then we all heard D call out to us. I noticed his tone of voice was angry and very concerned. Path ends, we're all met with a huge brick wall. I assumed it was the back wall of a mausoleum. D standing at one side of the wall, staring at it. I'll walk over to see what he was looking at. Handprints in blue paint everywhere. All very uneasy, I decided to take pictures. R&D go off, and I'm left with Jay. Really tense silence, decided to ask Jay what he thought of the handprints. It's probably just the alchemists again. And he walks off to R&D. What? Catch up to everyone? R&D discovered another path. This one was very narrow, so everyone would have to walk in a single file line. The order of the line, D in front, R second, me third, and Jay in the back. R&D talked to each other. I'm thinking about what Jay said, trying to figure out what alchemists were. Totally forgot Jay was behind me, scared me half to death when he started mumbling to himself concerned. I slow my pace to get closer to Jay. Ask him about alchemists and what he meant. He explains that they're members of the alchemists occult. Alchemists in our state are apparently batshit crazy. Freeform rituals, animal sacrifices, etc. Says that the handprints were probably for some ritual of theirs. Says we might be close to the demon hole. What is the demon hole? No response. Ask him again. He finally responds, says that the demon hole is a place where these alchemists would perform their animal sacrifices, and mentions a pit. Ask him about the pit. He says that it's where they would throw away unwanted animal remains. By this point, I'm freaking out. Finally reach the end of the path. Huge field with a creek at the edge of the field opposite to us. R points out a small hill beyond the creek, says there's some wall in the trees on that hill. We cross the creek, jumping over some stones. When we made it up the hill, my heart skipped a beat. The wall was against some large mound of hard ground, with a huge hole in the center of it. This has to be what Jay was talking about. D and R ask many questions about the hole, but Jay doesn't say anything. Worried as to why Jay isn't saying anything about it. Decide to keep quiet. As R and D investigate the hole, D says he wants to go inside to look around. Are you serious? You're not going in there. Pretty sure I came off harsh, because everyone gave me some concerned and agitated looks. Shut up. D says he's going to go in. Jay gives him a small keychain flashlight. Jay is cheery, unlike when he was telling me about the hole. D tells me to take a picture of him. OK.jpg. D goes in. I'm sure that'd be the last I saw of him. 2 hours pass, no sign of D coming out. R and myself were worried out of our minds. Jay happily playing some game on his phone. Suddenly, we hear movement from inside the demon hole. Just as movement was audible, D crawls out of the demon hole completely out of breath. He was covered in dirt, cuts, and his shirt had specks of blue paint, same color as the paint used to make those hand marks. D explains after 10 minutes of crawling, there was a huge opening inside. D continues, saying there were small animal bones, ripped pieces of old paper, an unopened can of paint, and a giant pit in the center of the room. I ask him about the pit. D says that when he got close to it, a strong and horrible stench hit him, and that's when he decided to come back. D was obviously having a panic attack, he couldn't stop shaking and he was still breathing heavily. We decide to take him home. Jay suggests staying with D to keep him company. I don't like the idea, but R says it would be a good idea. Drop of D and Jay at D's apartment, they both wave goodbye. We drive back to R's house. I haven't told her about what Jay told me on the narrow path. And since that Sunday, I haven't seen or heard from D. Those who have seen him say that he's more reclusive and barely speaks to anyone. I haven't seen or heard from Jay, nor do I want to.
F these long ass green text. Father was security guard for a coal mine. One night during winter he was alone at his post. Man comes out of the woods. Thinking he was a homeless man, my father invited him in for some coffee. Man didn't take the coffee, but sat around with him and played cards until sunrise. Right before sunrise, homeless man decides to leave. Father saw man walk back to tree line and disappear. It was right before dawn, so this was understandable. At first light, father steps out of his post to see a long trail of hoof prints leading back into the woods. Hoof prints were covered by snow before daylight.
B16. Not religious, superstitious, or believe in ghosts/demons. At girlfriend's house, watching cartoons in her room on second floor. Parents are gone, house is empty and all locked. Hear footsteps downstairs and barking from inside house. Girlfriend doesn't have pets. Get baseball bat, we slowly go downstairs. Nobody to be found. All doors are locked. Lights are off. Turn hallway light on to kitchen, nothing to be seen. We continue to investigate, about to head back upstairs. Then hear running in the basement. Super adrenaline rush. I stomp into basement yelling and threatening to attack. Turn light on. Nobody to be seen, no windows, no doors. Super freaked by now and about to break down. GF and I hear stomping from kitchen upstairs, and glass breaking. Run upstairs, out the front door screaming. Was able to catch a glimpse. Hallway light was off somehow, kitchen light was on. Grandma's urn from top wooden clock was on ground broken. Large shaded figure hovering in corner staring. We waited across the street until mom got home. We told her the entire story, and she let us inside. Urn was no longer broken, and back on shelf, lights were off. Never went to GF's house again, broke up with her, heard similar ghost stories from future boyfriends, but scarier. Girl committed suicide a few years later. I'm 26 now.
Growing up in the middle of 20,000 acres of swamp near Savannah, GA. Dad was Green Beret, loves to take us hiking, building forts, digging traps, making fire, etc. Out driving one day in my 78 Camaro and come across a dirt road way down past Ebenezer. Okay, gas was 78 cents a gallon back then, so I sped on the old country roads for fun. This is an old dirt road, overgrown, no county maintenance. I drive down it and it's literally rolling up and down like a roller coaster for 2 miles. It ends at a meadow. Meadow is set amidst an untended pecan orchard, lots of flowers and buzzing insects. I step out and grab my Mavacia, state of the art back then. Walking along a ruined Civil War era fence and notice a heavily vined and collapsed barn, snap a few shots. Behind the barn is a ruined church which was half a century old, but still 100 years younger than the barn. In front of the church is a berm with several big river stones set into a circle and I assume it's a grave. I step up the block foundation entrance and it seems cleaner, maybe even used. I freeze for a disbelieving moment, unsure of what it is I'm looking at. The door is wrong, something is making me look at this door and I suddenly realize. There's a horned goat skull above the door. A goddamn goat skull. There was no Lovecraftian moment of realization and dawning. I bolted, jumped the fence and spun around in the meadow. Never went back, never told.
B11 or 12. Family goes on vacation to a hotel next to the highest mountain in my country. Me and my younger brother, 9 or 10, decide to go out one afternoon. Parents let us but ask us to stay close to the hotel. We don't. Eventually we're looking down at a cozy looking valley. Like 6 p.m. by now, getting dark. There's one dude wearing a black robe, covering his head with a hood. He is lighting up torches around a circle. Notice circle is made out of skulls. Huge bone structure in the middle. He looks up directly at us. Shouts something in what I think was German, we're Portuguese. Starts running towards us. Noped all the way back. My brother gets behind because he's slow, I start crying because I thought he was gonna die. Go back, grab him, drag him through the woods. Find a fork at the road, I tell my brother to hide there and run to one side until the mud stops, so I leave footprints. Go back to the fork, hide behind a rock with my brother, had to cover his mouth because he was making a lot of noise. Dude fell for it, he went to that side. He was on the phone, angry, now speaking another language, thinking about it now I think it was Latin, but I can't be sure. Weird as hell. Go back to hotel running for our lives. Crying as hell when we get there, parents get super worried, call cops, cops don't find anything. Go home earlier because I was too scared to stay there. It was probably some edgy teenager, but holy hell was I scared. Why the hell did he chase us that far anyway? That's what's weird to me, maybe the bastard wanted to kill us and use our bodies as sacrifice or something.
Backs up to wild-ass mangroves. 3 a.m., playing video games, only one awake. Suddenly, out of nowhere, hear something huge land on my roof. Something human weight. Hear footsteps on my roof, pacing back and forth. Scared as hell, not daring to breathe. Roof is right above me, I lived on the 3rd floor. That thing was close to me. Suddenly, the silence is broken. Hear the most inhuman, blood-curdling screech? Nope. Avi. Book it out of there, go downstairs, I need my daddy. Heard the screech too, it woke him up. Both scared as hell. Chill in the living room with the house secured until it was light outside. I've heard that same awful inhuman screeching once or twice since then when visiting him. A friend and I were doing our second night cache. It required flashlights to find reflectors in the woods. As we park, friend casually mentions the cache's theme is based off a person who was murdered and body dumped here. We get out of the car and smell bleach. We find the entrance in the tree line. My flashlight spots something on the ground. It looks remnants of a hobo camp. What is that? We freak out and almost turn around, but keep going. We find a shirt 5 minutes into the woods, spooky but not unheard of. It's really dark, no moon, and the flashlight starts to flicker. Our only flashlight and no cell phones. Panic sets in. The sky is cloudy so there aren't even stars. Hurry up to find the cache while the flashlight is getting dimmer and blinking out more. Finally find it and make our way out. The flashlight dies completely, so I can't even satisfy my paranoid mind by looking behind me anymore. Make it back to car, and lighting. Realize there was a backup flashlight all along. Trollface.png.
Friends and I backpacking throughout Mexico. Getting late. Find abandoned shack in a woods. All the trees circle the shack about 30 feet away. We all try to sleep, but it sounds like rocks or pine cones are hitting the roof of the metal shack. Happens throughout the night. At around 5 in the morning it stops. 3 hours of sleep. I also have another one where we were staying at my friend's house. We're all about to go to sleep. Turn back to grab my pack. Horrible split second of an albino face with bloody eye sockets when I look at my pack. I go apeshit telling my friends to take my pack away from me. Absolutely no breeze in the house. Candle completely goes out without even a dim. Stay up all night with no rest, trying to get that image out of my head.
Be this recent November. Friend just got home from 2-month vacation in Europe. Walking around golf course behind house. Hear the strange sound of bongos at community park just across small ditch from golf course. Get over to park, overlooking pond. Bongos completely stop without a trace. Ponder a moment. Hear bongos again, this time across pond over by city dump. Run towards sound stops. Hear Spanish music off in the distance over the dump. Where the hell did the bongos go? Friends hop barbed wire top of fence. I stay on parkside. They wander in search of bongos. They come back. No sign of bongos. Wander back to golf course before walking home. Wonder the rest of the night how bongos projected sound so far away. Friend thinks it might have been druids. My face when druids.
Go camping with family. Staying at campsite in national park so there are no toilets etc. Go hiking during the day. Cook in makeshift fire pit during the evening. Food is great but we cooked too much. Everyone has a few drinks and gets sleepy, even my cousin who was 16 at the time. Get into the tent and my sleeping bag and go sleep. Mom and cousin wake me up at like 3 a.m. because something's messing with the tent. Definitely hear something scratching around outside. Whatever it is finds the zip to the tent and starts screwing with it, rattling it around and pushing on like it can't hold on to it. Cousin and mom are freaking out while uncle is fast asleep. Decide to grow some balls. Grab knife. Open zip. Suddenly something non-human sticks its head in the tent. Long snout, pitch black soulless eyes, ears like a rabbit and claws undoubtedly designed for maiming. Everyone screams like a mother lover. Uncle still doesn't wake up. The kangaroo turns around and hops off into the bush.
Fine E, story time it is then. B 16 years old Amaribra living in Bath, England. Be walking back late-ish at night from my friend's place. Listening to my iPod as I walk up the hill to my place. Teresa stone wall about 6 feet high on my left with a path branching off from the street alongside the wall. The other side of the wall is about 15 feet high because of the steep hillside. I follow the street up, which also turns left but with about 12 feet elevation gain. This is all less than 2 blocks from my place. Something catches the corner of my left eye. I turn to look and my blood chills. Terrified. Leaning over the top of the wall is a massive rabbit/humanoid face with long, clawed hands as long as my forearm. I'm frozen. It's staring directly at me, and grins hungrily. It flexes its grip on the top of the wall like it's going to move, and I sprint my goddamn ass off to my place and barricade the door. I went back in daylight the next day. The building/courtyard is an elementary school, the dorms of which were bombed in World War II. I never walked on that side of the street at night again.
This is a recount from my mother. She told me a few years back. Despite our old house having other hauntings, I don't feel like typing all of them. Somewhere around the age when I was 2 and my brother was 3. We slept in our parents' bed. And our dad starts work at late hours to early mornings. So one night, my mother tells me she awoke to the sound of crying. Like mournful crying, she was hearing through the vents, which I remember was next to their bed on the 3rd floor. It was a few hours since my dad's left to work, nor does it sound what his voice would generate. So she attempts to inspect it. With heading downstairs to the large basement, that was only designed for one light bulb, all of the vents lead to a separate room in the basement that was cramped, with no light and one window you can't see from. And as she goes, the noise just grows from a mournful cry into more of a shrieking cry. Nope. Grabs my brother and me and hauls ass to her parents. With a broad overview, that house was pretty messed. Mirrors would entirely shatter, with dropping maybe only 6 to 7 pieces on the ground, but the rest would remain intact but still held together. My brother's and my room was at the top, which led to an eerie attic you would see out of a cheap horror movie. Which I remember there was a pit in it. We've tried to see the bottom or if anything was down it, but no luck, no idea where it led. And that goddamn attic, apart from hearing noises and movement coming from it, the door was like a cellar door. And the door would randomly fall from month to year, making a loud bash a few feet from our bed. I hated waking up to that in the middle of the night. Also, there was a fire. I don't remember much about it though.
Walking in the woods one evening. Awful smell. See a person leaning by a tree. Say hello. It's a dead body. It had all these scars all over it and was in a hospital down. I called the police and waited for them. Take a closer look. The body wasn't just scarred, his body was sliced up and sewed together. It was several bodies, stitched together. Hear a quiet voice. Kill me. Freak the hell out and kick its head at. The smell got even worse. Police came, I am questioned and told it's apparently at least 15 different people stitched together. 4 hours of questioning and accusations that I'm the killer later. It's revealed it was a massive joke by medical students playing with the cadavers and a voice recorder in the thread.
Go caravanning with parents. First night of a week at Mount Gambier. Playing poker with matches as money. Sudden bright light. Wind picks up like it's a massive storm. Shadows, human-shaped, on the windows. What the hell? Door bursts open. Shadow in the doorway bathed in too much light to see, slender humanoid with large head. Light increases to the point I can't see. Wake up in my bed. Mother cooking breakfast in the tiny kitchen. They don't believe me. They tell me I am making it up or must be dreaming. Then who won at poker last night? They don't know. All the matches are burned, like they have been used. The caravan is facing the wrong direction. We pack up and leave at once.
5 years ago. Next door neighbor is a Thai woman with a son. She runs a Thai bakery. Her husband who opened it was killed when it was robbed. Her son is the same age as mine. Take him to cricket games, movies, etc. His mother brings me sweetbread and raps on my window when she gets home to make sure I am up. I work night shift as a system administrator at a hospital. When she gets home, tap 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 tap. Go on a convention trip to Murica. Go to hotel. Hearing on my window tap 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 tap. See a shape behind it. Bolt upright. I am on the 17th floor. Open the window. Nothing there. Tap 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 from my door. Open door. Just room service. Put covered tray on table. Bowl of Fruit Loops, a slice of cold toast, bacon, scrambled eggs and a glass of orange juice. All what I asked for. And a sweet roll. I didn't order that. It's still warm but the bacon and eggs are cold. Ask how they managed to have a fresh, warm roll with cold meat and eggs. They only have bread and burgers, not rolls of any kind. Fly back home that day. Turn phone back on. 3 missed calls. The Korean woman was killed yesterday when her bus took a turn too sharp and flipped over. Adopted the kid. Bakery was sold. He's currently takyong a course in accounting. The money from the bakery was sitting in a high-interest account for the last 5 years. He'll get it all as soon as he finishes his course.
Aussie here. This happened about a month ago when I was road tripping from Brisbane to Sydney with friends. We avoided the highways on our route, so we could go the scenic way. This all happened in my 77 Combi. There were 5 of us, my boyfriend and 3 other mates, and the whole time we were joking about devils and demons. Anyway. The second day of trip, the afternoon, leaving Coffs Harbour. Look at map, says that our planned camping site is like 4 hours away, but we want to set up before dark. Choose closer camping ground in the national park on our map, New England National Park. Driving. Get onto a road called Darkwood Road, no cars. GPS says to take the next left. You are entering Die Happy Forest. Jesus Christ.avi. Drive up the hill, it's a dirt track. Road gets more and more abandoned looking, but GPS says we're on the right track. Mate has to keep getting out to move debris. Clearly abandoned, although we didn't realize it until later. See old letterboxes on the road, no driveways. All the signs have bullet holes in them. Keep driving higher up the mountain. Mate has to get out to pull out a vine that was growing into the ground. See no animals, no birds, feeling a bit spooked. After like 1.5 hours, reach a fork in the road. One way is a gate with a heavy bolt. Other way is a completely overgrown, narrow path. Take path, get bogged, go back downhill. One guy runs ahead to see if there's any sign of life. Comes back, nothing. It's getting dark. Fuel is getting low, nope.jpg. Everyone is really spooked, really creepy atmosphere. Deciding what to do. Don't want to camp, too creepy. Try to call 000 for fuel, because no reception. Our faces when 000 call doesn't get through. Decide to drive back. Gets dark. Creepy AF, no animals, bullet holes. Mate gets a call from his mum. Only hear backwards gibberish, demon-like voices. Nope.jpg. Feel like we're escaping the mountain. I'm shaking so bad, can barely drive. Fuel below empty, how is this happening? Everyone is scared AF, but no one says anything. Car lights make everything look terrifying. Letterboxes again. Finally get back to road. Holy hell, we made it. Have to drive back along Darkwood Road. No lights. Pass a creek crossing we crossed earlier. 3 bikes lying on ground. No kids. No house anywhere near. Please do no fuel run out.jpg. We have no idea how the car was still running, had been below empty for well over 1 hour. Get to nearest town. Breakdown. No fuel stations open. Call rack. Guy comes to bring us fuel. Tell him our story. He says, dude, that mountain is full of demons. What? Tells us that there are apparently communities of people living in there. The more we thought about it, the creepier it became, although nothing outright supernatural happened. Nope out of our trip, drive home. My face when NSW defeated us. My face when I don't have a face. And that was our encounter with Die Happy Forest.
It's kind of a long story, so sorry no green text. If I'm gonna tell my story, I'm gonna tell it right. 2 years ago my dog ran away. I put up flyers, went out every morning and evening to look for her, called local shelters, I even made a page for it on Facebook. Couple days later a buddy calls in, says he seen a dog like her by some woods. Shows it to me on Google Maps. I figure it's easily within a 2-day walk for a hyper-ass dog. I hop in my truck and haul ass over there with nothing but my keys, and a leash in my pocket. Get to the road adjacent the woods and pull over. Walk tree line that's full of thick undergrowth save for one really distinct game trail, figure if she went in it was most likely there. I look for a couple hours and it gets dark, but where the tree canopy isn't too thick there is plenty of moonlight, and I have one of those minimags on my key ring that I can switch on if I need a hard look at something. So I keep looking because it felt shitty to give up knowing my lil pup could be out there scared, cold, and alone. So I stick to it. At this point main road is at my back, and Teresa neighborhood on the right hand side once you get out of the woods. Not close by any means, but if you walked in that direction you'd eventually bump into civilization faster than any other direction, but I go straight. From now on let's call this north, even though I have no idea what true cardinal direction it was, but just so you can put yourselves in my shoes step by step, turn by turn, if you look back you can still see glimpse of a few lights from the main road, so that was my marker. Head the opposite direction to go deeper and head to the lights to get out. Minus scattered game trails, Terese, not really any hard trails or anything, so I'm pretty much trashing and crashing through the underbrush in some places, picking and choosing the best path. Right now my idea was to not try and be sneaky, going around finding quieter trails to avoid getting turned around unnecessarily, plus I was calling out Nim's name frequently so stealth wasn't an issue. I wanted to be heard. Anyways, I do this about another 30 minutes, stop to catch my breath, and then I hear crying. Faintly at first, but when I listen harder it's definitely a baby crying. The hell? But then I reason sound travels differently in the woods, it's probably coming from one of those houses in that neighborhood to the east, it's bounced its way through the trees to me because that's what I do. I always find logical explanations for stuff. I didn't buy into spooks and goblins and yuppies and ghosts. And that's what I did. I found a logical explanation, even if deep down inside I knew damn well sound doesn't travel that well in the woods. I listen harder, but am surprised to notice that it's not coming from the east where the neighborhood is, it's coming from deeper in the woods northwestish. I look behind me to see glimpses of the street lights, am still facing the same way so I didn't get turned around. I try and be reasonable again. Some shitheads are abandoning their baby in the woods instead of taking it to a fire station where there would be no questions asked and it'd be safe. That makes me pretty mad, so I change my course and start plowing my way to that baby as fast as I can. Underbrush be damned. I'm making a lot of noise, so I stop every once in a while to make sure I'm still zeroing in on that crying, and as I get closer I can hear it clearly, but on one of those pauses I notice that it sounds off. Like I know that obviously babies don't all sound alike, but that's not what I mean. At that point I couldn't really put my finger on it, just seemed off. At a slow walk now, still listening, thinking hard about why does it sound so strange? Aside from the fact that babies don't belong in the goddamn woods. Listening some more, I decide it doesn't sound 100% like a baby and more animal? Like it had the wrong rhythm. Like the lungs on this baby were whoppers cause it would wail, it wouldn't do like normal babies, this thing was belting it with breaths very far in between. Like it had no cadence, it sounded more like a wail, but in the voice of a baby cry, gives me chills thinking about it, but then I was like, man the hell up. You're a 6 feet 5 inches 250 pounds man gettin' the willies, 'cause a damn baby. So I walked closer, but now I tried being quieter 'cause I wasn't too far now, like 70 to 90 yards away tops, going by sound, so it's a very rough estimate, but I used to do this a lot when hunting coyotes at night, so I'm pretty confident with these guesses. Anyways, I've slowed down because now if I took a wrong turn it would make more of a difference, so I'm definitely closing in with maybe 50 more yards to go and it stops. Didn't fade out, it just cut off. I freeze. Then like 4 seconds, it starts again, only now it's no longer dead ahead, I shit you not, it's now another 100 yards away, and behind me and to my left. Like let's pretend I was facing north, well now it was not only magically farther away but also suddenly southwest of me. And what's more, it did this in like 4 seconds flat. Whoever is holding this baby moved 150 yards at least and did it in 4 seconds, and they did it through thick-ass underbrush without making noise. I don't need to tell you in a woods folks that that's impossible. The hairs on the back of my neck stand up. But whatever, it's dark, I'm alone, my mind is just playing tricks on me probably, even if they never have before. First time for everything, eh? So I change course and backtrack the trail I made a bit. It's easier than making a straight line through the brush if I reuse my fresh trail to go back south and then break off southwest once I'm closer. So I do that, same as before, making noise and making quick stops to either catch my breath or make sure I'm still zeroing in. And on one of those, something big, I say big but I mean like big dog, or people sized, not like horse or cow big, I say big so that you don't think possum, rabbit, bird or raccoon, is moving through the brush about 30 yards away on my right. At this point it put the babies at 50 yards dead ahead, it's snapping twigs on the trees as well as rustling leaves. Most critters are pretty sneaky or at least not so noisy, so I'm sure it's dog-sized or bigger. Well shit, I'm looking for it. I get excited hoping it's my dog and I call for her, but when I do the noise stops. So does the baby. It's dead quiet. And then I got that feeling you get when you know something is watching you. And I don't get that for nothing, it's always right. Whether it's a cutie across the room or if it's just a possum watching me piss, if I feel something is watching me then something is watching me. Hairs on back of neck stand up. Dead quiet. Still frozen. Waiting for anything. Just any noise. Super tense. Wah scares the shit out of me, but it's that freak-ass baby crying again. I wait a bit more to listen for whatever is out there, but nothing. Still feels like I'm being watched. I break off a dead branch as thick and as long as my arm for a club, just in case, goddamn teenagers or something else is out there, and I press on quietly. Don't judge me. Anyways, now I'm real close to the baby, 20 yards tops. I can hear it like if it was in the next room, and I'm not playing. This baby sounds very weird. Like somewhere in between when they bleed out baby goats for slaughter and a normal baby, mixed with a yowling cat in a fight. I think that's the best way to describe it, but I'm not sure if y'all get that. Now I ain't trying to be a macho man, hell I'm in this shit 'cause I'm looking for daddy's little girl, aka my dog, but aside from shit like losing a loved one there really isn't anything I'm afraid of. Be that as it may, this baby sounded weird enough to give me the heebie-jeebies. Anyways, it was mostly pine trees now with plenty of soft needles on the ground, sparse underbrush that's easily avoided, so it was not hard to keep relatively quiet. Maybe not white-tailed deer quiet, but definitely people quiet. I'm now like 10 yards close, so I turn on my flashlight to start looking in the direction it's coming from. Too many trees and bushes in that direction, have to get around it to get close. I pause to find the best way. I move about 3 to 5 more yards to go around the thicket that's obstructing my view to get closer, and baby stops. Maybe I scared it, and in the time it took me to think those 4 words something shook some tree canopies further behind me, no wind whatsoever, and the baby started crying again 50 yards behind me. The hell? I wheel around to face it as my stomach kinda dropped into my nutsack and I got goosebumps and everything. I clutched my homemade club tightly. Why? Because teleporting weird-ass crying babies in the middle of nowhere is not funny. Screw it, I'm gonna find this freak-ass baby or die in these woods. but am doing it like a man, so using my club as a shield against the sticks and thorns, I just plow right into the thicket, making a straight line to this baby, whether I scare it or not. No more picking the quiet path because maybe I'm just passing it up by being sneaky. That's what I told myself, but looking back that's still not a good explanation because I was using the crying to zero and more than anything like it use coyote yelps to track their packs at night. Anyways, baby or not, I was plowing my way in a straight line over logs and through thorns. I break out into a clearing, fall on my face because there weren't any more vines or trees branches to hold me back like in the thicket. Look up and listen, the baby is close, around a small stand of trees and bushes that make a tunnel with the rest of the trees on the outside of the thicket. No doubt that's where the crying was coming from. Flashlight back on, full sprint around stand of trees into tunnel created by the tree canopy. Baby sounds like it's in bushes, not 15 feet ahead, and bushes that I was looking right at. Creepy ass crying doesn't even sound human anymore. Very loud and not my imagination. The baby is in the bushes in front of me for sure. It has to be. About to shine my light and see, and the crying friggin' stops suddenly. Screw that. It's here, I know it. Look and look, can't find a thing. No baby in sight, just some trash. Didn't pay attention to the little bits of trash. Terry's trash all over these woods. It blows in from the main road. Plastic bags, candy wrappers, papers, shit like that. Looking for baby for half hour. Nothing. Keep coming back to trash because it stands out, because her dirt doesn't belong. Look closer at trash. It's 5 candles and a muddy Gatorade bottle. Ignore the Gatorade bottle because it's pretty normal, that's pollution for ya, but grab a candle and drop it immediately. It's still warm on the top part. It wasn't melty or waxy still, but it was soft and warm. What the hell? A loud stick snaps in the tree to my left, very close. Hair on the back of my neck stands up. I look through the tree branches and see nothing. I have tunnel vision because my eyes have gotten used to the light I'm now using. Anything outside the beams is pitch black, so the tunnel vision makes me feel extra vulnerable knowing I can only see what my light is pointed at, and also that once I turn it off I'll be pretty much blind till my eyes readjust. Scan treetops a bit more for fat ass raccoon or whatever snap that stick, but then I keep looking for baby in other bushes. No crying for the last half hour. What the hell is going on? Like it fell off the face of the earth. Stayed looking a bit longer because no one wants to be the guy who let a baby rot in the woods. But this thing is just gone. No more crying whatsoever. I start questioning myself. You're tired, stressed out, you just want your dog back, and your mind, which again has never pulled any shit like this before, is playing tricks on you. So I start to backtrack to the clearing. Now the town I'm in is very close to Houston TX, big city, plenty of lights, plenty of light pollution. The light, as in bright light and not the lack of weight light, pollution combined with the now setting moon makes it easier to see when out of the trees because, as y'all know, in the city it never gets that dark. So I put away the flashlight. Walk a bit into the clearing. Then I hear rustling in trees. Feel like I'm being watched again. Grip my club, look into the tree tops, see nothing, put away flashlight, turn left, walk about 20 yards and I freeze. Am definitely being watched now, I absolutely feel it, and that's when in the corner of my eye I see a shape in the tree. That's all I can really call it. I slowly turn my head. It's the silhouette of a dark shape in a tree. It's about the size of a crouched adult, or a full trash bag, or even a chimp. The tree it's in has like 10 leaves tops. It was fall. It's pretty much just the branches. The shape in the tree is just an ambiguous silhouette, and it's not moving, and neither am I. I stare and stare, but I can't make it out. It's too dark, and I don't dare move to shine my light on it because I've got the willies something fierce and I don't even know why. Man, it's just a extra big squirrel nest or a trash bag that blew into the tree because that's what it looks like, just a ragged clump shape. But I'm still frozen. I give myself a little pep talk in my mind and figure yup, it's just leaves, and right immediately as I took a step, I hadn't even turned my head back, I was still looking right at it, a friggin' humanish hand, like individual fingers and a palm and arm extend from it and grab a branch next to it. I seen the fingers, it was a hand, but the arm Folks, the arm was the weirdest shit ever. It had feathers like a vulture's wing or maybe clumps of long hair but in the shape of wing plumes, but with an unmistakable humanoid hand on the end. It grabbed a branch with that hand. And then it dashed to the right and down into the canopy where I lost it in the darkness. Since all that was visible was silhouettes, once it was amongst the trees that had leaves it was out of sight and it moved very fast, like extra gravity mode fast, and the branches even moved and shook under its weight too, so it was not my imagination. Anyways, it grabbed that branch, I almost shat my pants. Then when it moved out of sight I was like, nope, and I ain't gonna pretend like I kept cool and was brave. I bolted out of those goddamn woods. I didn't even know where I was going, I just knew that thing was that way and I was hauling ass in the opposite direction. I was cutting myself and getting ripped open by sticks and just tearing through everything, swinging my club at everything, hollering, making as much noise as possible, and then I came out of the woods to the main road like 300 yards away from my truck and 100 yards from the game trail where I went in. Again that baby cry, but now it crescendos from a cry to a deep growling scream/howl that made my stomach drop into my ball sack. That wasn't no goddamn baby crying. I adrenalined my ass all the way to my truck, yelling and swinging my club, still fully expecting anything to lunge at me from the tree line. Slammed into truck, fumbled with the keys and lock. I friggin' bent the wrong key trying to unlock the truck door with my gun safe key. Finally got in, cranked it up and did 110 all the way down that road till I found other cars, and even then still did 80 the rest of the way home. I was in the driveway when I realized my right hand still had that damned club in a death grip. Now I'm sorry if it doesn't seem creepy at all when you're comfy and cozy and reading this on your laptop, and I apologize for making you read this. But I guarantee you'd be pooping bricks alongside me if you were there, lol. Whatever was in that tree was about the size of a crouched man. Some of you are thinking raccoons have hands. It was most likely a raccoon. It wasn't. I've hunted plenty in my time, and I know it was not a raccoon. And nowhere near as big. Looked more like a porcupine from the shaggy leafy way it looked, but it was way too big to be anything arboreal from southeast Texas. Looked like a small man in a ghillie suit almost. But wait, Terry's more. The branch it was on was crazy thin. This thing was light enough to perch on said branch but heavy enough to shake the trees it dropped into when it moved into the darkness out of sight right before I bolted. So if you read this far, I guess I should say thanks for hearing me out. Feel free to guess what I saw, but if you come at me with any flora or fauna, and I think I can give you a good reason why it wasn't whatever critter you think of.
V17 on the opening day of deer gun season in Pennsylvania. Me and my dad picked out our spots off a trail the day before. Going in before sunrise, we don't go far enough along the trail. Dad thinks it's the spot we picked for me the day before. I was pretty sure it wasn't. Look around a while and can't find the spot that I picked out. I was bummed because I really liked the spot. Dad tells me to just sit in this log that fell across two little mounds with an indent in the middle. Don't want to waste any more time, so I say fine and sit in the middle of the log. Dad walks away to go to his spot and I just sit in the dark with my thoughts. All of a sudden I start to hear a cracking like twigs when a deer walk on them. Get excited, but it's still too dark to see more than a few yards. Cracking gets louder, start to think it's not a deer because the sound is coming from one place. Finally I hear two big cracks. The log I was sitting on broke and I fall down but land just how I was sitting. Dad radios me on the walkie-talkie and says I was right and he put me in the wrong spot.
Last summer. Camping with friends out in the woods. All going fine, hiked all day, set up camp, eaten and warm. One of them, let's call him M, has been a dick all day, slowing us down and complaining. M set up his tarp under my hammock, for extra dryness. Sitting round fire when M starts saying how he misses his GF. Everyone else is single, so we tease him about her. M gets tearful and goes to bed. The rest go to bed soon after. Later. Laying in hammock reading a book when I hear a noise all around me. Sounded like something limping / crawling around me. Nope the hell out. Turn off light and lay there still. Noise gets faster and starts sounding wet. Noise directly under me. The hell is this? MP4. Look out from hammock to see M's tarp shaking. Hear M whispering and see the light from his phone. M gives a little grunt and weird noise stops. Realize that he was fapping under my hammock. Laying there and a bit freaked out when I feel a hand on my buttocks. Hand clenches and then wipes itself on said buttocks. M then gets up to piss and clean up. Nope 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 nope.
I only heard this story from a family friend who was a bit of a talker, but he sounded honest. He's out in a woods with a few friends in a cabin. They're all drunk as hell. Decides to go run around outside for the hell of it. Thinks he can hear his friends calling him from out in the woods. It's from the wrong direction. He found his way back, but really makes you wonder what would have happened if he didn't.
B15. Just moved from Miami to rural part of Texas that had just begun experiencing development due to expanding suburbia. Rich friend invites me for a ride on his new Polaris Ranger. Hell yeah. JPG. Riding around largely undeveloped neighborhoods and unfenced pasturelands, just casual 4x4 explorin'. After the first hour or so we both notice this white pickup truck not so stealthily keeping its eyes on us from a distance. Not really following, just creeping around. Get a little freaked out. Friend drives off to wooded area to stake it out. Hop off Ranger, explore the area by foot. Even though it's early afternoon the canopy is dense as shit, he grabs a small flashlight from the glove box to help us see. After struggling through the brush for a while happen upon on what appears to be a man-made path, decide to walk along it. Have corny sense of humor, so I joke dude this is spooky, let's GTFO. Keep walking for a good 15 to 20 minutes or so till we get to a clearing. Ground is completely dirt, there's a circle of rocks about 6 to 8 feet across piled with soot, ash, and burnt wood. Also a folding chair. Looks like someone just casually tossed it into the fire for some reason. Friend observes someone must have camped here, anon look up. See rope hanging from tree. Color begins to drain from my face. Poke soot and ash with stick. See white logs. MFW I realize those aren't logs. JPG. Needless to say we bolted and never went back.
The 11-year-old me. A friend and I messing about in the woods near my house. Following some trail back home, just joking with each other and pretending to fight off hordes of orcs with sword sticks. Hear somebody about 30 feet behind us. Look around. He starts shouting things like oi, goddamn kids, come here and shit. We look at him kind of confused, we're quite used to mad people. He draws a knife from under his belt and runs at us. Friend and I run like hell. Eventually make it to town and he is still chasing us. We end up hiding on top of a garage while he looks around, then leaves. That shit was terrifying.
Out camping with a friend of mine. We're just chilling, messing around and having a good time most of the day. Go for a walk in the woods at night to enjoy the peace and quiet. It's a bit spooky but whatever, I know nothing is gonna happen. At one point me and my friend get separated, I call out to him. He calls out saying he's found something, tells me to come and check it out. As I'm making my way towards where his voice came from someone spins me around from behind. It's my friend. I yell what the hell in surprise before he grabs my mouth and shushes me. Says I don't know who called you but it sure as hell wasn't me. Suddenly my friend's voice calls out from the same place as before, asks what happened and tells me to hurry. I say I just slipped and I'm coming. Me and my friend sprint the hell out of there at a speed that would put Usain Bolt to shame. get back in the car and drive home. We came back to pick up our stuff in the morning. We didn't stick around to investigate in the woods or anything, just grabbed our shit and got the hell out.
I live in Massachusetts, but went camping in Maine with some brothers. My house is isolated by woods for privacy. 2 years ago. Go camping in Maine, camp and drive back without a hitch. Drop off all my brothers at home, then drive home. Unpack, then take a shower cause I smell like fermented anus. Hear a loud banging on my door, which forces me out of my shower. It's my friend Danny, rambling about something. Hey Anon, I left my phone with you, can you give it back? Sure, 1 second, let me open the door. Reaching for the doorknob, when I get a call. Of all people, it's Danny. Dan. And why? Yay Anon, just wanted to say that was a blast and we should totally do that again. There's still a banging on the door. Come on Anon, let me in. Let me in. I quickly call the police, and await them as I don't know what to do. Hear police officers banging on my door, but there are no cars outside. I'm flipping shit, but the banging stops when the police arrives. I didn't sleep that night. Danny lives 45 minutes away and his car broke down.
I got 2 good ones. 19. Last summer. Camping with 4 other friends. All going on a hike in the middle of the night. End up in a dense part of the woods. Suddenly we hear rustling and branches cracking to the side. Turn as a deer emerges from the brush and began to charge us. One of my friends almost gets trampled. Another friend kicks the deer in the stomach at the last second. It's stunned and we all run back to our campsite. This one's scary in a creepier sense. Camping with same group of friends, about 2 or 3 years before the other story. This time in the woods behind my house, on the riverside. We've all finished getting stoned. We were sitting around talking, when I heard a blood-curdling scream in the distance. It sounded far off, so I thought I might be hearing things because of the weed, but then I heard it again. Told my friends to shut up and listen. Sure enough, I hear it again, and so do they. Sounds like an animal being murdered, maybe a woman even. It's coming from downriver. None of us were brave enough to investigate ourselves, and we didn't want to get my parents. Because we were all obviously high, we were too scared to even leave the tent once we sobered up. None of us slept that night. Still have no idea what that noise was.
Nothing too special, but family returning home from a road trip. Late night. Dad driving, everyone else in car asleep, including me. Nobody else on the road in sight. Suddenly on the side of the road is a big military truck, with army men loading something very big covered in a tarp into the truck. Small part of it was visible under the tarp, enough to see that whatever it was made out of a very clean and shiny metal. Overall shape under the tarp seemed saucer-shaped.
Down in a woods by myself. Hear loud crashing like trees being plowed through. See some kind of large, really massive thing running upright through the brush. Thing was about 7 feet tall and moving really fast. Realize I just saw a Bigfoot.
Be about 14. Meet up with some friends. Find a map of the area in my attic. We decide to go exploring because why not? Come up to some abandoned house thing. We decide to go in. Find out family is living there. Pretty weird. They offer us some soda. They go away. We decide to explore their house. Find hidden doorway. Go through it. Fat friend gets separated it from us. Explore for a bit. Fat friend finally comes back, saying he found a room. Saw some horribly disfigured man. All of us get freaked out, want to leave. Family shows up out of nowhere and is really mad we're there. Try to get away from them. All of my friends are scared as hell. Stop them, tell them something to toughen them up. Goonies never say die.
I have a story our scout leader told us. In fact, he's telling it all the time. I don't remember all the details, but here it goes. Staying late at the cabin, doing some work around the bees or what. The cabin is near a small settlement about 12 kilometers from the town. Around 1 to 2 a.m. he's on his way cycling to the town. The road to the town leads through forest, though a regular motorway. It is narrow, lots of people died there because there's always an idiot who's drunk or just too fast. There are crosses on the side of the road everywhere. At a certain place, darker than the rest of the road due to denser trees, the man hears running. Footsteps and heavy breathing just behind his back. He stops cycling and turns around, no one to be seen. Continues, footsteps again. He stops and shouts, "Show yourself," no reply. Does this a few times, his heartbeat really fast by now, so he decides he'll just finish the 8 or so kilometers really fast. Gets into town unharmed. Next day, or maybe a few days later, doesn't matter, he goes to visit the local priest. Priest says not all souls find peace, tells the man he should say some prayer when he's on the spot. Sometime later the guy is riding a bike at the same time on the same place, footsteps and breathing again. Stops and prays for a while. No footsteps ever since. I'm in no way a religious guy, but he is, so it might have been more psychological. Still a creepy story.